Oh, I'm live. I've like completely forgotten the whole setup deal. Hi, Cindy. Um, so here I am trying to get myself. It's a bright sunny day, so I look a little washed out, and I have notes. So I am supposed to be, hi, David, in New York, but I'm not. And so I decided that I would jump on and tell you what I've been up to. It's turned into a beautiful day here in Seattle, and but it's getting colder, and we've been wondering all day whether we're going to have to turn the heat on, which is not to say it's that cold, but just that we are that weak. So here we are, 4:15 Friday afternoon. Like I said, I have a list. Um, this is part of my knitting this week. Isn't that gorgeous? Um, this yarn is really cool. It's from a company called Mod Yarn, which is part of Anzula Yarn, and it's slightly lower priced. And hi, Rosie. I haven't used a lot of their yarns, but I have to say that I always love them. And it's only my fault that I haven't used more of them because Anzula is really great about giving yarn away. And it means that I actually haven't seen Anzula for a while. They were at H&H, but I had a booth and I never got there. So let's see. I can never figure out how I got rid of that. Okay, so let me talk about paperclip resistance. So paperclip resistance is apparently, I always have to tell the story, during World War II, when Norway was occupied by the Germans, people wore paper clips to communicate that they were not supportive of the invaders, the Germans, the Nazis. And they could wear it, like I've got it just on my piece of jewelry. You can put it on a collar, put it on a lapel. You could use it to close something. And so it was a way that they were able to communicate their political stance. And apparently the Germans never figured it out. I don't know. That's all I've read. That's like my entire history knowledge on that subject. I'm sure I'll get around to looking it up. So they've kind of revived the paperclip as a way to show that you are not for the current administration. And I, of course, think it's fun. I love being able to do something that isn't terrifically overt. The fact that I wear bracelets that say yes or Black Lives Matter. And I've got a bunch of others, but they're waiting for me to finish the restringing. I always say I wear my heart on my arm, and but I'm not likely to like walk around with a fuck Trump button on. And plus that I never go anyplace, so it doesn't matter. So I like this, and I've been trying to color coordinate, but all of my paper clips are occupied. So it's kind of goosed me to think about getting rid of some of the paper floating around my office. So that's the paperclip resistance. You can wear your own. I have also used, let's see, do I have one nearby? I've tons of them. Um, we are big fans of the binder clip in my household, and we are big fans of paper. So these are great because you can clip a lot of paper. So these work really well on a collar or a lapel in a more attractive way. Um, and of course, if you buy the colored ones, you can color coordinate with your outfit. Hi, Brian. Um, which is always important. So, um, I have some green ones, some orange ones, and some white ones, which are most of the colors in my logo. And I use those at H&H in my booth to hang paper. So I haven't been, first I'll say I'm not in New York where I should be right now. This is the time we always travel kind of for my birthday, which is at the beginning of October, which is rushing up on us. And I'm kind of at an age that you don't really get excited about your birthdays. They are useful markers. But we always travel this time of year, so we always call our early trip Jill's birthday trip. And for big years, I require that we go someplace special. I've already figured out what I want to do for my 75th. I will be informing Mitch when it's closer to time so he can plan. But Mitch has been having health issues, and so it's been going on for like 18 months. And so he had cataract surgery, and yeah, because we were that old. And they do one eye and then the other. And he had some problems with the antibiotic that he was putting in his eye on the first one. But everybody decided it was really not a big deal. And then when he had the second one done, as often happens, his response was enhanced. And it did turn out that it was in large part because of the antibiotic. And because, doctors don't pay any attention anymore. And certainly not to older men who they just think are trying to get attention or something. So he and Dr. Google have been busy. He's a retired lawyer. And he got like way deep on reading papers on statins. And so who is this? S.L. Mills. Hey. Turned out that a lot of the symptoms he's been having aren't related to the statin he was taking. So he has weaned himself off the statin. Many of the side effects are gone, but he had this horrible skin reaction to the antibiotic. He's been on steroids, and then they've been doing biopsies, and one of them got infected. And so they put him on another antibiotic, which apparently is not causing a problem with his skin. But he was worried that if he got an infection again, and he was away from his doctors. So anyhow, we didn't go. I believe that I am like kind of catching up on my sleep. I've been incredibly worried and stressed about this whole thing, except that I never show it. I just don't sleep. So I'm feeling quite normal the latter part of this week. And I've been just trying to do what I can. Once you get stressed, it's hard to concentrate, blah, blah, blah. So I have been knitting. And of course, I always forget to pull my things. Now I'm like looking around my office for my stuff. Um, so I've got this almost finished. So this is a cowl that you may have seen. Um, and I use two colors of yarn that are almost the same. And then, so this is just hanging out because I need to feed it through, but it's got these, and I put these buttons on it, but I've decided that they have to be moved up to the top because they're just getting hidden here. And I think I have some on the back too. Anyhow, I love it. I think I'll get the pattern. So I finished that, and I have this really cool headband. I was putting things away. Oh, I know where I put it. This is why I just leave things out. Okay, so caveat, I always look terrible with things on my head. But so this was the headband in our little book of summer knitting patterns. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool? And wool yarns, there's no reason why you couldn't wear a headband. So this one's really thick, and I just made it long enough so it covers my ears. And so I was working on the pattern because it was in a book, and so it was just a PDF download. And oh, hi, Anne Marie. I'm now converting it into a pattern tailor. So this is really thick yarn. I'm doing it right now. This is the yarn for the headband in this. So they're different weights. So what I do is I write the pattern. So there are places where variables go, and using PHP, it takes my written pattern and puts the variables based on your information into the pattern, and then you download it. And it's got all the blanks are filled in for you. But it requires just a slightly different presentation than I did before. And I only had one part of it in the pattern tailor, so I had to add in the headband. And I am really good at big picture, less so at details. So it means that I have to, and I do everything on paper. I'm not good at reading things on the screen. So yesterday I went through and filled in all the blanks with the code that I put into the back end, and found a couple that were missing, which is the whole purpose of doing that. Make sure everything matches. And so today I've been updating things and making some adjustments to the physical layout. And I said the pattern was going to be available if any of you want it on the 29th, but I've now moved that to October 1st because completely unrealistic that I would have it ready. And so that's what I've been up to. I alluded to my bracelets, and so I wear bracelets on both arms. And so this one I got, and this is the elastic that I have to finish and cut. I got that one at H&H one year for participating in chair yoga. This one I bought in in Rome. And I guess I've got another one, but I'm wearing it. Okay, so this one is for trans rights. This one I designated it for creativity. This one is for Ukraine, but the yellow beads have lost all their color. I go in occasionally and color them in with a marker. And this is my most recent one that I bought at the Royal Academy last year in London. And it was like £5. And Mitch said, "Oh, you should get that." And I thought, "Oh, I will buy it to remind myself to keep having fun." So those are my bracelets that I'm not wearing right now. I have this beaded one that I wear to remind myself of my friend Sarah. And this one, always the coolest of my stuff, comes from Mitch. He just saw it in a shop and bought it for me. I bought this one to go with it from the same shop in Rome. And then I have this one, which I love because that's my favorite color of green. The stone is broken because I fell, and I tried doing that Japanese thing to put it back together, but I think there's just too big a gap. And I was completely inept at it. And then this last one that wraps around. I love things that wrap more than once. Hence the watch that wraps more than once. I got in, where was I? Barcelona, which is my favorite European city that I've been to, although I love them all. Here's one of the binder clips in my jeweled green color. So I thought of something else I was going to tell you, because I don't have the other things that I've been knitting on. Hi, Christine. Nearby. I did a couple of really nice swatches this week, but my other one is downstairs. And this is funny. So there's a company, and I haven't cut my ends off yet. I think I reknit this, so I haven't glued them down yet. And the reason there are 3 colors is because they had these little sample balls of their yarn, which I took. So this is the same headband, except that that's like all the yarn I have. So it won't go over my ears. And this is cotton t-shirt fabric. Doesn't even have lycra in it. And I wanted to do something with their yarn, but it's so thick. And so I had to do that. I did this on size 13 needles, which are quite large. Let's see. Like that size. I usually knit on this size. So that was quite large for me. And my hands aren't as flexible as they used to be. So it wasn't that fun. And so they are from Ukraine. And when Russia invaded, they were in Kyiv, and they packed up all of their operations and moved it to the Czech Republic. And the 2 gals who come to H&H said that, eventually their entire families got out, including like parents and that. So they're living in the Czech Republic. But now I can't get the yarn. not that I want it, because of tariffs. Because I would just need a small amount and I don't get enough. I'm not going to pay the tariffs on it. So anyhow, this was the same thing, but I had far less yarn. And I bought this yarn, which I knit on a 10.5, which is still a big needle for me, but where is it? So this is the one I used on the cotton and this one on the wool. But I bought this yarn because I'm often doing little videos of stuff and I never have any big yarn because I don't like it. So that's what I've been working on. Yeah, that may be all I got today. What else? So we do get to we're going to London and Barcelona late October. We always go for around the jazz festivals. So Barcelona has a great one. And so it's a mix of Spanish jazz musicians and Americans. So sometimes, there'll be an American we want to see, but I really love the Spanish ones because they have a slightly different take on jazz. And what's really great is when they play together. So last year we saw a concert of like a Duke Ellington type of student jazz band and with vocals. And that was really fun. And they've just put out an album. So then we go to London because the EFG Jazz Festival happens. They kind of overlap a little bit and happen separately. So I can't remember. I think it was last year, but it may have been the year before. We saw this cool guy, and Mitch just buys tickets. I have no idea usually what we're going to see until I get there, unless he chooses to share. And it was this tuba player. And when we sat down and he said it's a tuba player, I was like, what the fuck? It was the most incredible thing. And it sounded like the tuba was talking sometimes. I mean, the guy was so talented. And so we listened to his work. I think he was from Norway, Scandinavia. But I think Norway has quite a jazz thing going on. And so I always love the musicians that we discover. And sometimes you just see American musicians playing with a different setup than they might normally be playing with. We've seen Bill Frisell. For those of you who haven't joined me before, Bill Frisell is my favorite jazz musician, and he's a guitarist. And he's a guitarist who plays on a lot of people's albums. So that's like a large part of the work that he does. And then he has his quintets and his quartets and his trios, and they travel. So I've seen him, San Francisco a bunch of times because we lived there for almost 20 years. I've seen him here in Seattle. I've seen him in New York, seen him in Toronto, seen him in Barcelona, seen him in London. So yeah, that's right. 6 places. I'm sure I've seen him more than 30 times. First heard him when let's say 1995, when we were living in Portland. And, Mitch says, do you want to go to? And I just say yes, most of the time. because I can always nap during a concert if I don't like the music. And so we went, I won't go to classical music, but if it's jazz or rock, I'm fine. So we went to see this guy, Bill Frisell. Of course, there was an opening act. And so we sat through that. And he came out and he played. This was before jazz musicians realized, like, never play more than 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. If, hi, Leanne, you're playing at a concert hall, but, mostly people just want to go and get out. So that's mostly what jazz musicians do now, 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. So he plays his first set, and my mind, my musical brain was blown. And at the intermission, I said to Mitch, I have to go. I can't listen anymore. And he thought that I didn't like it. And he was like, why do you want to go? Or why did we leave? I think he said in the car on the way home. And I said, my brain couldn't handle anymore. It was so incredible. And that was the start of my relationship with Bill Frisell, who I've never met. He's about Mitch's age, I think. But yeah, I've seen him a bunch. And because I've seen him a bunch, have found lots of other musicians that we listen to. So Mitch is a real music aficionado. So if you see my eyes wandering, it's because people are walking by. This is like the only time I'm standing up and seeing the traffic outside when I'm working. And so one of the things that Mitch and I had in common when we first started dating was our love of music. And after being sexually assaulted twice at rock concerts, I was just like, yeah, I think I'm done. I was like in my 40s. And so we do still sometimes go. And then I bitch about how everybody stands up. I'm like, I paid for my seat. I just want to sit down. So we kind of started listening to jazz and going to concerts and feeling our way. And Mitch, I can't ever remember anybody's name or, the musicians that were in the group, but he remembers that all and tracks it. And we have a music system that plays all over the house. And he's got it hooked up to something called Roon, or Roon is the system, I guess. And then he uses Tidal to access music. Although we still have to buy LPs. So anyhow, that's one of my big interests outside of knitting. My other thing is I like to cook, and I'm going to try an apple pie this weekend. I'm not a big dessert maker, or I love making desserts, but I don't really do pies much, and I'm not a big cake fan. So Mitch lost like 30 pounds, so I'm trying to fatten him up a little bit. And so he's been eating desserts. I think he's devoured like an entire cheesecake in the last month on his own. I just have tiny pieces. So I thought an apple pie would be nice, but then I have all of these berries that I've been freezing, so I think I'll throw in some blueberries and see what that's like, and maybe some cardamom. And right now the hummingbird is at his feeder. It's my daily companion, and when the sun is out, in my peripheral vision, I notice his shadow go by. And sometimes he screams at me if he needs food. And I say he, no idea whether it's a boy or a girl. And I think there's more than one. So Hummingbirds, in my mind, are male, use he pronouns. Um, and then we're soon going to the Polish Film Festival, which we went to last year. It was the weekend after the election, and we were both devastated and kind of catatonic. And I'm laughing because when hummingbirds, apparently after they fly away, they poo. So if you're watching them, you see them poo. I've not seen much evidence of the poo under the feeder, so it must not be much poo. So anyhow, Mitch noticed that the Polish Film Festival was happening. We did not know there was a Polish Film Festival, although it was like their 32nd year. And Mitch is of Polish descent. And so we just bought a weekend pass and went to every single thing. I have to say, they were all really good. So they actually had you rate them. And it was like, well, they're all good. So it's just putting them in order of bestness. So we're going to that again. And they've apparently gotten a big grant from the Polish consul or something. So the tickets are free this year. We went a couple of weeks ago, did the Nordic Film Festival. There's one of the only Nordic-focused museums in the U.S. is here in Seattle. And it's a really lovely small museum. And so they've got their historical immigration stuff and interesting artifacts. And mostly they came here for logging and fishing. So, there's that sort of stuff. And then they have a small art museum where they bring in art shows from Norway or Scandinavian. So they do this film festival called the Nordic Film Festival. And again, it's like Friday and Saturday and Sunday. And it was, I think, 9 films and 2 shorts. This year, it was all Danish films. And the curator was from the Danish Film Archive. And so he had some restored black and white films that were excellent. And he chose things from, I think, like the 30s onward, including a couple of, major motion pictures. And I think Babette's Feast was one, which I had never seen, but it did win an Academy Award many years ago. And so you just go and, you find places to eat that you can eat at. And there's like an hour break for lunch, and otherwise you just watch films. And I was knitting something. Oh, swatches, which I think I have since put away. It was not a good place to be knitting swatches because they were complicated. And they also do they did one in addition, I think in the spring it was, that was Eastern Nordic films, or maybe Western, I guess, which was just like Faroe Islands, Iceland, Greenland, other small things there are up there. Those are really good. They tend to be a little bit more documentary type. And there is the Sammy Film Festival, which we stream here. We don't go to it. And it's Sammys are the native cultures from the far north. We called them Laplanders when I was in school, and they stretch from the coast of Norway across into part of Russia, and they are reindeer herders, so they follow the reindeer back and forth. A lot of really interesting documentary stuff, but also they have a small film industry because they've gotten lots of grants. I think Germany has been pretty generous, in addition to Norway and Finland and Denmark. Is Denmark in there? Yeah, I think so. But maybe it's just Norway, Finland, Russia. Russia's given nothing, and then Germany, because they have a lot of Sami artifacts that were sold to people, to German people, and so they do have this small film culture, and it's we aren't really talking the same language in more ways than one because they're living really differently than we do. But it's super interesting. And so that's one of the good things of when the weather gets cold, good films. And then that really, I think I've milked like everything in my brain. Yeah, I think we'll be done. This is so I usually am like charging off to finish my work day, and then about 6:30 I have a martini on Friday nights. And so Mitch has not been able to have a martini. And um, so I've missed a lot of martinis over the summer. And I finally decided that I was just going to drink while he didn't, because I really need my martini on Friday nights. And last thing, so this woman who has followed me for ages, and she and I correspond, and she actually has given me money on Substack. She and her husband are visiting Seattle this weekend, and so much to Mitch's horror, I invited them to dinner, which is part of the reason for the pie. And because really, why not be embarrassed by your terrible? So my food always tastes good. It doesn't always look good. And I haven't decided what I'm going to do for dinner, but I saw a really interesting recipe in, I have no idea how to say her name. And in fact, I can't, Salmons something. She wrote Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, which just like completely opened my eyes to some things about cooking. And then she now has a new recipe book out. And so this is a recipe for like a clam stew that's tomato based. So I thought that might be interesting to try. And then she's got these, her family is Persian. And so she's got this interesting flatbreads thing that I want to try. They're like little pitas. I thought that might be good. And then I found this really great salad. which if I have to go get clams, I can get some prawns to put in that. It's sliced tomatoes, sliced peaches, and sliced avocado. It's a delicious dressing. So I think that'll be my menu. I got to keep it simple. And then some appetizer. Maybe the dates with the cheese and bacon. So anyhow, have a great weekend. Since I've given myself a reprieve on the pattern, I think I will take tomorrow off and make my pie, finish my bracelets, and continue my knitting. I need to remember to take some needles downstairs because I have a couple of projects that got taken off the needles while I considered them more deeply, and I'm now ready to get back to them. So, and I don't have one right here to show you, but a couple of months ago, I ordered new pillowcases. And yeah, you know you're nuts when I'm like, ooh, look at the good bags that these pillowcases came in. They're kind of small. They're like maybe 9 by 6. And they are perfect for small projects. And then if you've never seen these before, I cut up when my socks wear out. I don't knit socks. I wear purchase socks and I buy them for the colors. So I always am in love with them and hate to get rid of them. So I cut them in half and I use them to keep my yarn in so that it doesn't come unraveled, which has been really crucial lately because I've been knitting with more than one color. So I also take, when I get down to one of the color of my footies, they work really well for yarn too. And despite my rule against me hand winding a ball in fingering weight, because I always get it tangled, I did it this week and it got tangled, but it was only like a 2-hour untangle. So I've got that project on the needles. And you know how you like do something and you kind of know you shouldn't have done it? I did that last night with my knitting. And it's not like a huge error, but I've got 270 stitches on the needles. So, and I just kept going. So I have to look at that before I have my martini and decide whether or not that has to come out, or back it up to where I made the mistake. And that's it. Have a great weekend. Bye.